Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. You know, I was thinking, and I mentioned this on the air yesterday, one thing that people who are prepared don't do. We don't say things like, I never thought of that. And the last thing we want is someone in a leadership position to say, I never thought of that. Or,
hey,
right?
I'm in the belly. What am I supposed to do next as a surgeon?
Can you say that one more time, please?
Okay, so suppose you're a surgeon.
Yeah.
And you say, I'm in the belly, but what do I do next? Who do I call?
Yeah, right.
Well, Vince, I have to tell you a story about that.
Yeah.
In my neurosurgical residency at the Massachusetts General Hospital, in my first month or so of my first rotation on clinic, I get in the emergency room and I see a woman who needs a craniotomy to drain a subdural hematoma. She got a blood clot on her brain. So I called the chief resident and I said, Bert, this woman needs to have a craniotomy right away. He said, go ahead and do it. I'll come in. So I go into the operating room. I've seen a few, but I've never done one. I've never been in the room with anybody and asked to do one. Mm-hmm. So I started to, what do I do next? And so I did it. And as I'm going up, I'm finishing. I've done it. The chief resident walks in and said, good job, Norm.
Yeah. Dr. Shealy, I can tell you that when I was teaching advanced computer technology at the high school level, I would do something similar, but it wasn't brain surgery. You know, we could always buy another CPU or another stick of memory or another motherboard. Geez, I taught classes in a similar way. I would leave the middle of class, and I would say, I'll be right back. Carry on. And I would leave it up to the class to figure out who was going to lead and who was going to, set the tone for, while I was gone. And, that was one of the ways I taught leadership by forcing the class to figure out who was going to lead, who was going to follow, and so forth. And it worked. But yeah, it was not brain surgery. It was just computer science. So yeah. Now, do you think he did it on purpose?
No, I think he just thought it was the way to do it. I guess you've seen a few. You got to learn it now.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering when I was first broadcasting, and you were in the studio at the radio station in Springfield. You had noticed that my knees were knocking, and you helped me with that. Do you think that was something that maybe he noticed?
I knew that you were nervous, but I honestly, I didn't pay much attention to it because I remember the first time I gave a talk at a major neurosurgical meeting, and my knees were knocking.
Yeah. And so, for some reason, it's very difficult the first time that you speak in front of in the public. Yeah. The second time it's not quite so bad, and the third time it's a little easier than that. And pretty soon, after years of it, it's no big deal at all. But yet, you see new people that are getting ready to give a speech to their high school class or something like that. They they become really nervous, and you go, it's no big deal. But yeah, it was a big deal when we were in their shoes. Dr. Shealy, we've got Len Pence dialing in, and I'm using his first name and his last name because I talked to him yesterday, and I saw him in person a few days ago. Welcome, Len Pence.
Well, thank you. Glad to be aboard.
Good morning.
Yeah. So, Len Pence, let me just introduce Len Pence for those who are new to the class. Len Pence has been a USA Preparedness instructor for many, many years. As a matter of fact, he's been to all of our Get Prepared Expos. He's taught seminars at the expos. He's been on the air with us talking about gardening and how to do it right and how to have a successful weed-free garden. And Len Pence mentioned to me a situation with his health, and I said, well, tell you what, Dr. Shealy's going to be on the air with us on Wednesday. It'd be great if you would call in. And so he said he would be here at 9:10. Here he is, 9:10 in the morning. And Dr. Shealy, Len Pence was going to describe his situation, his current situation, and he's got some questions as to what he should do. It's quite serious. Len?
All right. Dr. Shealy, are you there?
I'm here. How old are you?
82.
Oh my God, you're pre-teenage by my standards.
So, yeah, we're both getting there, aren't we? It's like life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it goes.
Okay, go for it. What's up?
Okay, I started having a problem with my appetite a few weeks ago. So they started looking to see. I started losing weight because I couldn't eat. Food just kind of turned me off. And I've been the kind of guy that, I live to eat. Right now, I'm eating to live, and I have to force feed myself almost. But anyway, I was losing weight, so they started looking for the reason. They checked my PSA, which should have been about 4, and it was 552.
Woofda.
So they went that direction to see what was there, and found cancer of the prostate, which is not unusual, especially at my age. But it has progressed past that, apparently, and metastasized and gone into all my bones. They've taken full body bone scan, they've taken MRIs, they've taken X-rays, CTs, they've done all kinds of tests on me. And finally, day before yesterday, they showed me the results of the full body bone scan, and it's in every bone in my body, including my lymph nodes. So I'm probably getting to you too late, but I thought I'd just discuss it with you and see if you had any ideas. They're wanting to put me on Zytiga, Zytiga, whatever that is.
I'll have to look it up because I am the world's least knowledgeable about any drug in the world because I don't like drugs. On the other hand, if it is chemotherapy, I personally would never use it.
Well, they said this was not chemo, that it was something else. But anyway, I knew that you were an all-natural kind of guy because I've sat in on several of your lectures at the Get Prepared deals.
Okay.
So I wanted to call and see what you might have to offer.
Right. Well, I'm looking it up as we speak, and I will continue. Here's what I would do in your situation. I can tell you that while I'm looking up this drug. I would use IV vitamin C.
IV what?
Vitamin C.
IV vitamin C?
Yeah, 100 grams, 5 days a week for 4 weeks.
100 grams. I'm writing all this down.
Right.
Okay. IV vitamin C, 100 grams per week for how long?
4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Yeah. Right.
4 weeks.
In addition, I would take something called IP6.
IP6?
Yes. And I would come in capsules, and I would take 4 a day.
4 per day.
I would also take vitamin D3, 50,000 units once a week, and vitamin K2, 15 milligrams, 3 a day. Now, Zytiga is a hormone. It's trying to, interfere more or less with interrupting your ability to make testosterone.
Right. Okay.
And they give it, interestingly, because of its side effects, they give you cortisone or prednisone with it. It's safer than most chemotherapy, but obviously has the problems associated with fiddling with your hormones, but they're minor compared to the cancer. So as a drug, it's not chemotherapy in the usual sense by any means.
Okay.
It can cause either high or low blood pressure. Those are the biggest problems. It can cause serious problems if you don't take the prednisone with it.
Okay, I have prednisone, so that won't be a problem.
Other than that, it can cause the symptoms you're already having. And, it can cause anything from vomiting to weakness. But those are common side effects of almost any interference. So it's not nearly as poison as chemotherapy. So I would say that probably is worth doing if you can also get, especially if you can get the vitamin C IV done. Where do you live?
In Springfield, or on the east edge of Springfield, Missouri.
Springfield, Missouri. Well,
yeah.
If you want to get that, we do that at the clinic.
Hold that thought. Len, stay with us, please. Class Dr. Norman Shealy's with us, medical doctor. Len Pence is with us, USA Preparedness instructor, and we're talking about cancer. Dr. Shealy, you recommended IV vitamin C, and Len Pence, I know, is within, let's say, 20 minutes from your clinic. Are you talking about a Myers cocktail? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes. The vitamin C, Myers cocktail is the sort of balance for everything that you give IV. And so then it's basic. You give magnesium and some B vitamins and some stuff like that. Then the amount of vitamin C varies depending upon what you're treating. So if you're treating a viral infection, you might start with 25 grams. But for metastatic cancer especially, I would definitely use 100 grams. And it's amazingly safe in my experience. I mean, I've done it since the late 70s.
Len, I've had a Myers cocktail at Dr. Shealy's clinic, so I can tell you that the experience that I had was I felt 20 years younger. I had an incredible amount of energy. The pain was I guess almost gone, if not gone. So what Dr. Shealy recommended, if I wrote my notes correctly, it's a Myers cocktail, MYERS, 100 grams of vitamin C plus other nutrients every day, 5 days a week. It continued for 4 weeks. And vitamin D3.
Okay, now, that's not what I wrote down, Vince. Doctor, I said vitamin C, 100 grams per week.
No, per day, IV.
Oh, per day.
5 days a week.
Yeah, Len, this is not oral. This is, the current recommendation, if you're going to take a lot of vitamin C, as I've learned it, would be 1,000 milligrams or 1 gram of vitamin C in a capsule. This is 100 times that much, but not in a capsule, but intravenously. Am I saying that correctly, Dr. Shealy?
That is correct. Most people can't tolerate more than 5,000 milligrams by mouth. It causes diarrhea, but IV it does not.
Mm-hmm. What it will do is it will make you urinate like crazy. I mean, you'll be urinating every 5 minutes for an hour or so. And but I've experienced these, and they are absolutely fabulous. So I suggest you consider that, Len. And I'd like to give out Dr. Shealy's clinic number. Len, if you'd like that, I'll repeat it. And if you, okay. Area code is 417-351-5221. 417-351-5221. And you know where it is. It's just down the street from the radio station that you used to broadcast from in downtown Springfield.
Okay.
The big one. KWTO.
Yeah.
KWTO.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's on the same. It's on the same street.
Let me just say, tell Len a couple of other things. If you want to consider it, I'm delighted to see you and get it started. The latest I can see you this week is tomorrow, because I'm going out of town and won't be back until Tuesday evening. My partner, Dr. Sergey, could see you on Monday or Tuesday, even though I'm not going to be here. But, you know, we just have to evaluate it for briefly everything.
Okay. Now, they gave me 2 shots yesterday, and I don't know what they were. I'd have to go back and pull my paperwork and see.
My suspicion
But I'll get that information for you.
Right.
So that you can tell what they're doing with me.
Oh, yes, of course.
And then I've got some deals to work with the VA and so forth, and I probably will try to see you about a week from today.
Oh, then I would be able to see you next Wednesday, that's for sure.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, let's tentatively leave it at that. I appreciate your input on it.
Keep the faith, baby.
Do what?
I said, keep the faith, baby.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
I'll look forward to seeing you. Have a good one.
Okay. Goodbye.
Thank you, Len. I'll see you on Friday.
Okay.
All right, Dr. Shealy and I'll be right back after these few short commercial announcements. That's Dr. Norman Shealy's with us. And what's happening is very, very sad. And let me share something else, another part of the story that you haven't heard yet. Dr. Shealy, Len Pence has been attacked by the state of Missouri. If you remember, class, I mentioned that the state of Missouri had come after us and our farm. They threatened to put a lien on our farm, and it was very unpleasant. And when they did, I took it very, very seriously. And I came out swinging. And I exposed them for the unconvicted felons that they are, the financial pedophiles, financial perverts that they are. I'm talking about the revenuers. Well, on Friday, we're going to do a 1-hour special, hour number 2. Len Pence is going to be back with us. And he's going to describe what they're doing to him and what they've done to him. He got the same exact letter that I did. Len Pence teaches classes in gardening, and he doesn't teach them in the winter. So for the same period, the end of 2016, the last 3 months of 2016, they came after him with the same letter that they came after the Finellis with. And they told him that he owed a couple $1,000 and about a 25% interest and penalty fee. But they never told him exactly what for, the same way they did with us. Talked to Len, and he said, no, they didn't have any sales. Same thing that happened with us. Except the state of Missouri put a lien on his farm. They shut down his business. They shut down his sales tax license. And they stole his business name. They took it. They took his business name. They effectively shut him down. So here's a guy with cancer. He's 82 years old. And the state of Missouri has gone after him. Now hear this. Now hear this, state of Missouri. Len Pence is coming back with a vengeance. And he's going to expose what happened on the air, worldwide, on Friday.
Well, let me give you my own story.
Okay, I'd love to hear it.
We had barely moved into Missouri from Wisconsin in 1982. I think within less than a year, for sure, some woman suddenly called and said, I've been flipping through my computer and found that you raise horses. You can't call that a business. It's not a livestock. I'm serious.
Really? Well,
Oh, yeah.
What would that be called?
Yeah. It's It's a hobby.
Oh.
And so, Vince, we had to actually go to the state legislature. We requested a hearing in Jefferson City. And, of course, several of the legislators who were hearing our testimony were farmers.
Yeah.
And this bitch had insisted that it wasn't farming to raise horses.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there just happened to be already half a dozen or more state laws about the broad aspect of farming. But at any rate, it took us about 6 or 8 months to get it all settled
Mm-hmm.
so that we could, use it as a business, which we did for the short it was a lot.
Well,
But I would not trust the government to tell me the sun's shining.
Right.
That's how crooked
Right.
I think all government is.
Yeah. So, class, if you think that the state government of Missouri is any better, Dr. Shealy and I are here to tell you that it is corrupt. It is absolutely corrupt at its core. At its core. Mm-hmm. And I've called for the disbanding of the Revenue Department from top to bottom. Fire everybody. And, Dr. Shealy.
Indict them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We need to have a list. We need to have a list of domestic terrorists. We need to have our own list. Don't count on the government to build this list. We need to have our own list of domestic terrorists. We need to have their pictures on our database, and we need to post it. Telephone numbers, pictures of the houses, everything about these thugs, and make it available for the public. And they need to understand that what they do is serious business. When they attacked us and when they destroyed Len Pence's business, how is he supposed to live? How is he supposed to continue? How is he supposed to buy his medicine and his treatment, especially in the condition he's in? It is evil, evil incarnate. These people are defective because the rest of us are not like this.
And take it from Greene County with its water poison control to Washington, D.C. Every government in the country is slightly to severely dishonest.
Okay, I was so angry, and I found the answer through what you recommended, Dr. Shealy, not harboring this anger after we resolved our case, and we got 2 apologies from the revenuers and the senior counsel of the revenuers, state of Missouri, saying, oops, most so sorry. And they wanted us to go away.
Cool.
Not like pay something and go away. They just want us to go away because they realized they were wrong, sending out these letters. And I still haven't gotten to my satisfaction some of the answers that I demanded answers to, like what is the algorithm that's used to calculate these enormous interest rates of like 25% per quarter? 25% per quarter. That's every 3 months. Where'd that come from? Who figured that out? Who approved that? What actually is the algebraic expression to determine that? I want to know. And I want to know, okay, so you say we owe this unpaid sales tax. To whom were these alleged sales made? When were they made? What was the amount? What was the address? What was the product? What was it? And you know what? They couldn't provide it because they didn't have it. They didn't have it because it was not true. These people destroy lives on fishing expeditions. Well, on Friday, we're going to expose it again with Len Pence's story. And we're going to read the letters. We've got them. And I'll bet you there are a bunch of other people that have gotten these same letters who are going to hear us and say, that's the same letter I got. And we're going to tell them exactly what we've done to go after the state of Missouri. And I really believe these people are unconvicted criminals. And kick a
recommendation.
Okay.
No person in any elected political position, should be allowed to run for re-election.
I agree.
Anyone who runs for election should know it is a one term and one term only. I don't care if it's the county clerk or the governor or the president. Mm-hmm. One term and you're out.
Yeah.
And
I totally agree.
In again.
Our founding fathers wanted it to be that way. They wanted us to be able to go in, serve It really means serve. That doesn't mean take bribes. That means serve and then step aside and let the next person serve. And one of the things that when I go on stage the end of this month to make my case why I should be considered for the board of directors by those voting that night is that what the founding fathers wanted. That was their plan. However, one of the guys who was on the board of directors has been there 18 years.
Well, look at McCain in the Senate.
That's what I'm talking about.
One of the most
but the guy that's going to be
unethical people in the world.
That's right. And the guy that's going to be standing next to the guy who has been there for 18 years has been there 45 years. 45 years.
Yeah.
That is the problem.
Yep.
That's not part of the problem. That is the problem. And the next thing is, when we look at our electric rates, and this is just a micro example of what's wrong with our country. When we look at our electric rates and we say, boy, they're high. Well, the people who are in that room have voted for higher electric rates because they voted for the same people for 18 and 45 years. It's their fault. Yeah.
Well, but, people pay no attention. It's interesting. This raises the issue of what your personal responsibilities are in life in general.
Mm-hmm.
You brought me back to one of my other favorite topics. You are responsible for your health.
Yeah.
I will do my best to help you, but I can't do it for you. I can't tell you don't smoke, don't drink excessively, don't eat more calories than you need to eat real food. And I can't do it for you. I can tell you that, but it doesn't do me any good to tell you that unless you're ready. And so the same is true for people in their personal lives in taking responsibility for every habit they have, everything they do, everything they think, all day, every day. It's the same in thinking about government. Don't allow the bastards to take advantage of you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And what's happening in a very small way, very small, not big enough, in my opinion, is that when these bribe takers show up in these public meetings, they are booed, they are shouted down, and that's nothing compared to what they deserve.
Right.
They need to be booed everywhere. Everywhere on the street, people need to point at them. Class, I'm going to tell you a story. We had a small problem in the Commonwealth of Virginia, in the little hamlet I lived in, with the local politicians, and we wanted them to stop their actions. What we did was we stopped in front of their houses and pointed at their front door. We pointed at them in church. We pointed at them. We pointed at their wives, their children, the grocery stores. It was so intense that they backed down. I'm not kidding. We'll be right back. Dr. Shealy, I just took a quick look at the emails, and I just got an email. This will probably be the third email I got from the CEO of the electric cooperative where I'm running for the board of directors. And this is a correction, because I sent him an email and I said, can you send me a list of rate changes for the last 50 years? I didn't have that.
Well, that. They don't have that. They know what it is today.
Yeah, I do. But they did have one from 1980 through this year. And let me just tell you, and I think he wants to make sure I get it absolutely correct, because I think he has a feeling I might say something about this when I'm on stage. Well, I can tell you that according to the latest correction, or the latest, this would be the correction, third email about the rates that I asked for. Since 1992, from 1992 to 2002, 10 years, there was no rate increase. None. But 2003 to 2017, there are 7 rate increases. And what percentage? Well, 7%, 8.3, 9, 12.5, 3.4, 3.3, and a 2.3.
slightly exceeding inflation.
oh, absolutely.
Big time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So here we have, these people who were selected for our voting pleasure by a committee, and they've delivered 7 rate increases in 15 years. Yeah. So when people complain about their electric rates, they should just look in the mirror, because they voted for the people who have done this to them.
Vote them all out.
Vote them all out. And this is their opportunity. So the next question I asked Dr. Shealy, since we're talking about politics, which we don't do very often, I asked, so how do people get, on the slate for election? Well, they get nominated. Okay, who nominates them? The nominating committee. Okay, how does the nominating committee get established? This is unbelievable. The nominating committee for this particular electric cooperative gets selected by the candidates. So the guy who's running in a specific district selects 2 people that are on the committee. And then those 2 people that he selected pick people to run against him. Now, how well is that going to work? He literally selects the people who are going to run against him. Well, one of the people on stage, and I kid you not, one of the people on stage to run against an incumbent the last time, 3 years ago when I was on stage, was a clerk at Walmart. Now, I have nothing against Walmart. Well, I do, but I don't have anything against this clerk. But how is this clerk who runs a cash register and a conveyor belt at Walmart qualified to be a board of directors member at the electric cooperative? Well, she wasn't. As a matter of fact, she didn't even show up for her statement on stage. She didn't even show up. And of course, the guy who selected the people to be on the committee to select her, well, he won again. He keeps winning. So if you're wondering what's wrong with this country, it's the people who are running it and people who we allow to stay in office forever, even when they've had brain surgery. Now, I think it's wonderful that brain surgery occurs, but for gosh sakes, do you really want someone who just had a brain operation running the country? Really? I'm talking about McCain. I'm talking about McCain, right?
I hope all of our listeners love you as much as I do.
Well, when my blood pressure comes down a little bit, we'll be right back. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. And class, if you'd like to contact his office, 417-351-5221. 417-351-5221. Dr. Norman Shealy. And his website, normshealy.com. NORMSHEALY.com. Dr. Shealy, we come back. Birth control, standard way of weaning off medicines, and medicines we should avoid being on. Everyone all set? Yeah. Cocked, locked. Hour number 2 of USA Prepares. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us, and Brad is engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. Class, if you'd like to call us, we'll pay for the call. 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. Telephone listen line is up 24/7. 605-477-3249. 605-477-3249. Dr. Shealy, I just was handed the latest electric cooperative newspaper / magazine, and it's got the 2017 annual meeting notice inside, and within the first few pages there's the slate of candidates. There's 3, 4, 5, 6 of us running for 3 positions, and I'd like to read you District 1. The guy's name is Joel. Now, they've got a really nice picture of Joel. He doesn't look anything like his picture today. The picture must be of maybe 20 years ago. He now has white hair, but not in this picture. And it says he's a credentialed cooperative director, and he owns and operates a beef cattle operation. I'm reading verbatim. He has lived in the electric cooperative service area for 57 years. He and his wife have 2 children and 2 grandchildren. That is all the information that you have other than his name to vote for him. Then it says the next guy is the owner, as his name, is the owner and operator of a fire services limited liability corporation. He's lived in the cooperative service area for 14 years. He and his wife have 5 children. That's it. And then it comes to Mr. Finelli as a teacher whose classroom instruction has been featured on the radio as well as the NBC Today show. He hosts the USAPrepares.com, the largest preparedness daily broadcast in the country. He and his wife have 3 children, and they've lived in this service, electric cooperative service area for 12 years. That's all it says about me. So, with all that information, the members get to vote for the director of their choice. Can you imagine that, Dr. Shealy?
Of course.
That's it.
As good as it gets in
yeah.
Politics.
That's at the end of the month. We get to see how that works, and I'm pretty sure that I have almost a 0 chance of being selected by the membership. And the reason is, I asked the CEO, has ever a candidate who has been nominated not by the committee, but by the members, by petition, has one ever won? Has one of them ever won? The answer is no. No one has ever won being nominated by the members. It's never happened. So it'll probably happen the same way again. And my children think I am absolutely devoid of all intellect when it comes to this. They think I've lost my mind. Why would I even waste my time? That's what they want to know. Dad, don't you have more important things to do? And the answer is, well, I'm called to do it. I'm called to stop these ever-increasing rate increases at an increasing rate. And but anyway, that's it for the electric cooperative selection. Dr. Shealy, birth control. Years ago, the pill was a big deal. And all women had to do was take this pill, and it was packaged, and they could pop them out of a little container, and they'd stay right on schedule, and it would prevent births. And it was like magic. Well, I'm concerned about it, and we've talked about it in the past. Are there any risks to taking the pill, Dr. Shealy?
Well, other than death, no. And it's not that common. Stroke is more common. High blood pressure is more common. Mood, variations are not uncommon. Personally, knowing as much as I do about the endocrine system as I do, and have been interested in since I was in medical school. I mean, I did research actually in cats on ovulation or stuff like that way back in medical school. I have never approved or felt it wise to interfere with that natural cycle. So I can truthfully say, and have no problem saying, that my wife and I used, we wanted 3 kids. We had all 3 kids. And we used a diaphragm and spermaticidal cream, other than that, to avoid pregnancy, which worked just as well and infinitely safer than the pill. Now, the actual,
Dr. Shealy,
yes?
my next question would be, what about the long-term effects?
Well, that's what I'm talking about. With a spermaticidal cream and a diaphragm, there is virtually no risk. The pill carries long-term serious effects. First of all, interestingly, one of the most interesting ones is that when you have been on the pill for 1 or more years and suddenly want to have a child, it can take you 1 to 3 years to recover enough to get fertile again. That's a minor problem in a sense, but if you are approaching 34 years of age, it's a big problem. So stroke and high blood pressure, et cetera, and the risk of breast cancer and all of those things, it's increased. That's all you can say. I mean,
and you mentioned mood swings. So when you tamper with the endocrine system, are you saying that there's a potential for wild mood swings?
You bet.
Or wild mood
Depression,
swings?
anxiety, they are big problem. It's
So,
said to be
as you-
99.9% effective,
Mm-hmm.
but that's no better than a diaphragm and spermaticidal cream, by the way.
So when you say depression, would a current doctor, not Dr. Shealy, not Dr. Sergey Sorin, but would some young doctor say, tell you what, you seem to have depression. Are you on any medication? Yeah, I'm on the pill. Okay, so you're on the pill. All right, so we've got some antidepressants. Isn't that going to be the typical answer?
Of course.
Okay, so what would be the result of taking antidepressants for this
Increased
depression?
risk of suicide, other than that.
Mm-hmm. All right,
increased risk of suicide, and they don't work. Statistically speaking, you're lucky if you survive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here are the more serious side effects. Abdominal pain, chest pain, headaches, very severe, blurred vision, losing eyesight, swelling or aching in the legs and thighs. I mean, other than that, it's like the play goes on.
And you're talking about the pill?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, what about? Okay, so now that we've talked about this, I'm sure that there are some women who are saying, "Well, I want to get off it." All right.
Well,
can they get?
It can work. You get lots of side effects often in coming off. Very erratic bleeding and mood swings up the gazoo, and it can take up to 3 years.
So what about? All right. So what about these women who have been on it for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15?
Yeah, their risk increases of high blood pressure, stroke, and breast cancer. But
All right. So the ones who are listening, who are saying, "I want to get off this," what do we tell them, Dr. Shealy?
Well, the best thing they could do is to use Fire Bliss, and the reason for that is it includes the acupuncture points, which you're not using needles, you're using oil, for all of the endocrine systems, the ovaries, the adrenal glands, the thyroid, etc.
Okay, so when they want to stop using the pill, are you saying that they just stop and then they use Fire Bliss?
Yeah, actually, it's one of those few drugs where it's better just to quit.
Okay. Do they continue it until the next month begins, or do they
say that's
stop?
probably wise. Yes, that would be the only major.
Okay. So from what I've learned about this, there's some of the months worth of pills that are placebos, if you will. They're inert. They don't have any active ingredients.
Right.
For about a week, if that's okay.
Right.
All right. Okay. So the plan then, class, is to stop at the beginning of your next series of monthly pills. Okay. And Fire Bliss. Now, where do you get Fire Bliss? Dr. Shealy has that on his website.
Yeah, this is one of the essential oil mixtures that we developed for stimulating a particular circuit, which I call the Ring of Fire, because fire is the energy of your endocrine system to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, up to 1975, the risk was known to be up to 11 times greater of developing breast cancer in women who took the pill.
Wow.
But it may reduce the incidence of ovarian cancer. That's not fixed in stone either.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with all of these things, finding the true risk is very difficult. Personally, I just wouldn't take it.
Yeah, and Dr. Shealy, you didn't say 11% greater. You said 11 times greater. Yeah. Yeah, class, think about that. 11 times greater risk of breast cancer. And, how about all these Hollywood people that you've heard of having mastectomies as a result of them being diagnosed with breast cancer? How many people do you know who have had breast cancer? And so maybe they are part of the result. Dr. Norm Shealy and I are talking about, we talked about the pill and weaning off the pill. Dr. Shealy, when we talk about typical medicines, maybe the average med that someone might be on, is there a standard protocol for us to wean off meds? And then after we talk about that, why don't we talk about meds that you should be, you shouldn't wean yourself off.
Well,
Is there a standard way?
There's not anything you could call as a standard protocol. It's not, to my knowledge, generally taught. But it is known that drugs that control blood pressure, for instance, are particularly difficult to wean from. Antidepressants should not be stopped suddenly. Any anxiety drugs should not be stopped suddenly. In general, what I recommend, if you're going to cut off, and I'm not saying anybody should take my advantage without speaking to me or a physician who knows what you're talking about, I cut out a quarter to a half of the drug dosage a week. So that anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, you can wean yourself as safely as you can from most drugs.
Okay. I read an article last night that Glenn Campbell passed away.
Oh.
He was
How old was
pretty
Glenn?
pretty famous. I'll tell you, he was in his 80s.
He's one of my
tell you in
favorites.
just a second. Yeah, seemed like a nice guy.
I agree.
Anyway, he passed away, Alzheimer's, and that seems to be getting more and more common usage of the word Alzheimer's. He's 81, and the article in the Daily Mail says that he died following a courageous battle with Alzheimer's. And so, Dr. Shealy, what do we do if we have
courageous battle with a disease is? But that's okay.
Well, I think we heard some of that. I mean, it's tough. It's tough being diagnosed with a terminal disease. Len Pence was on with us, and he put the pretty good face on it.
Wonderful attitude.
He does, and I'm wondering how many people realize that if you have, I'm not going to make it, I might as well just give up now. How that affects the longevity of that particular person. So if a person mentally gives up, doesn't that hasten the demise of that person?
Obviously, it depends on the disease to a greater or lesser extent, especially in a disease like Alzheimer's, because part of the problem with Alzheimer's is its primary effect is on your whole ability to think straight, so to speak. And so it's not as much a personality trait that determines how much you fight, if you will, the disease in Alzheimer's, but the disease itself. But let me just
I'm looking at, yes.
Well, I wanted to finish on the birth control pill, because the risk of stroke, the risk is only, quote, only double if you are a normal person taking birth control pills. But if you are have a migraine, which is, like 18 to 20% of women, your risk of stroke is up to about tenfold. So everything affects everything. And I definitely could not recommend birth control pills to women with migraine. And if you smoke, your risk is increased. Your risk increased if you smoke. Well, it's increased markedly greater if you take birth control pills and smoke. And so it goes. So everything affects everything.
How about those who drink, Dr. Shealy? And I don't mean drink to excess. I mean, how about a beer? How about a glass of wine?
No, 1 or 2 glasses would not affect you. 3, you're increasing your risk.
Okay. Now, when you say 1 or 2 glasses, you're talking about over time, not gulping them down, right?
Well, yes, of course. Social politeness, so to speak.
Okay, so we're talking, let's say, a wine with dinner. Yeah. So over a 45-minute dinner. Okay. And then maybe a glass of wine after dinner. Okay.
That's maximum.
Dr. Shealy, I'm looking at an image of Glenn Campbell with his hand, his forearm, and he's got age spots. These brownish spots all over his hand and wrist. Do they mean anything?
Well, it is a sign of excess oxidation, so to speak. So he's not getting, he hasn't been eating enough antioxidants.
There you go. We'll be right back. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us in class. If you'd like to get to his website, normshealy.com, Norm as in Norman, Shealy, SHEALY.com, normshealy.com. You can sign up for the same free newsletter that I get multiple times per week at the website, normshealy.com. Dr. Shealy, so there's a post on the internet, zerohedge.com, and it says, more lonely, fewer friends, less sex, have smartphones destroyed a generation. And you and I have talked about this, but it seems like other people are catching on. And maybe there's something to this smartphone destruction of the world, where people don't have real friends. They have these instant communication type friends. But I can tell you, I know a young man who was a wonderful, he's been to the farm, and he's a helper. He would help anybody who needed anything. And so he's moving out of his place, and he's moving from one state to another, literally. And he just contacts his friends and says, hey, could you help me, load this U-Haul? And a few of them respond, can't do it. A couple respond, yep,
busy on
I'll
my
be
phone.
there. Yeah, well, here's what happened. Nobody showed up.
Right.
Nobody showed up. So here we have these pseudo-friends, Hey, I love you, I'll be there, I'm behind you, I'm in front of you, I'm with you 110%, but nobody shows up. And I think this is just a micro example of what the truth really is, that these pseudo-friends are really not friends. They're just people who really are me first and have very little interest in doing anything that doesn't pertain to the individual himself. And I don't like it. It's not the way I was raised. I was raised that if someone needs a hand, you help them. That's just what you do, because your turn is coming soon. It's just the way it was when I was growing up. But that's obviously not the way it is today. So here's the article saying that when you think that you have these friends, you really don't. But these people who they're literally addicted. They're so addicted to their phones that if you invite them over for dinner, you're going to see a table full of smartphones.
Right.
All at the dinner table, to the right side of where the napkin was, literally. And there's another article that says, it's dovetailing. There's a study that says loneliness, social isolation is a greater health problem in the United States than obesity. Now, you may think that you've got these friends, but they're remote. They're on the end of a phone. But in person, not so much. So this article is saying that this is more of a problem, isolation and loneliness. It actually is causing people to live less long. It's more dangerous to the United States than obesity. Do you find that could be true, Dr. Shealy, or what are your thoughts?
Yep. Well, absolutely, right on.
Mm-hmm.
It's simple.
And yeah, in your experience, the people whom you come in contact with, the people who come to your clinic, are you seeing that there's more loneliness than ever before? I am.
Oh, I think so. I think that TV actually began the process. Interestingly, when radio was a major entertainment, and they had marvelous comedies on radio. First of all, the reason I like radio, you have to create your images. And I think that makes the brain work a little bit compared to watching them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But television began the process where people don't talk while they're watching. And that wasn't that bad, except that some people watch 40 hours a week, but other than that. And then, of course, use of phones was never that excessive, I think, until it began to be something you could walk around with. And so that's the thing I call dumb phones. And I think they make you dumb because they interfere with so many natural, normal processes, et cetera, et cetera. And in today's millennial generation especially, we've seen the worst of it. So I don't believe that people should, from a social, just common sense point of view, be allowing themselves to walk around, ride around, drive around, talking on the phone, period. It's dangerous.
Well, okay. Let's put an exclamation point on that.
Right.
I was talking to a young person, and this young person was telling me that his smartphone enables him to watch television in his car. And what I'm talking about...
stupidity has no limits.
I'm literally saying that this young man was telling me that he could turn his cell phone into a hotspot while traveling down the road and literally watch television. Now, I got to tell you, Dr. Shealy, when I'm behind the wheel of a vehicle, whether it be a truck or a car, I'm looking left, right, forward, backward. I'm listening to sounds. I'm looking at the instrumentation. I am paying full attention as the captain of that vehicle. I'm expecting little animals who don't know the difference, who haven't seen a vehicle yet, jump out in front of me. I'm expecting deer to jump out in front of me. I'm expecting the cars in front of me and alongside me to do the dumbest things possible. You know, I really expect that the unsecured load in the back of those pickup trucks is going to fly out and land in front of me. I'm expecting tires to blow. I'm expecting parts to fall out from underneath vehicles. I don't know when that's going to happen. I just know that it happens. And I'm paying attention to all those things. And I got to tell you, if I were watching TV while I was doing that, I wouldn't be able to do both very well. So I don't do that. I don't watch television. I don't talk on the phone when I'm in a car. It's really hard because the cord doesn't reach that far. But I'm thinking that we are taking undue risks, unnecessary risks. And not only are they risky for us and those passengers who might be in the vehicle with us, but they're risky and reckless behaviors that endanger everyone around us.
Oh, absolutely. Unequivocal. You know, you have to be ready every microsecond of the time to put on the brake, to steer, to change your, where you're going, because things happen. Like, it hasn't been very long ago that I was coming down 65 at, 65 miles an hour, and a truck tire blew off, just barely in front of me. I was able to avoid it, of course, but if I'd been talking on the phone or watching television, God forbid, I wouldn't even know the tire came off.
Well, I got to tell you that I was on the interstate, and when you said 65 on 65, that would be a Highway 65 in Missouri near Springfield, where the speed limit is 65. I was on the interstate, out of state, and I was in my diesel car, and this guy in a pickup truck entered the entry ramp for the interstate, accelerated, passed the speed limit, and pulled out in front of me, and everything was fine. I slowed down a little bit, and everything was fine. And out of the back of the pickup truck, which I could not see, was one of those flower pots that you would plant a tree in, or you'd buy a tree at the the garden department of a big box store. I'm talking about a 4-gallon
right.
bucket, 5-gallon bucket. Okay, it flew out and it went a little left, a little right. And I'm looking at this thing, trying to figure out the best place for me to go to avoid it. Boom, hits my grill, and it was light, and it went under the vehicle, and I guess the next several cars hit it also. Well, it destroyed my grill, and so I don't know, maybe $600 worth of damage. What I'm saying is they're unexpected things. Now, it's not like this was a ladder sticking out the back that I could see. This was something that I could not see. But this moron just threw it in the back of his truck. Either he expected that he was not going to have to take it out whenever he got to his destination because it would blow out, or he was dumb enough to think that it would stay there. But it caused damage, and there's nothing that I could do about it. I mean, so
and you're lucky that that's all it did.
You're right. You're absolutely right, because it could have been catastrophic.
Have a crash.
Absolutely. So there are events that can happen, and I try to prepare for them. And I look at, and one of the things I want to talk about today was mini-max regret. And I learned in finance class one of the few things I learned at the university was how to minimize my maximum regret. And I go through life, with that example of the guy in the pickup truck who just puts the ladder in the back and expects everything's going to be fine and doesn't tie it down, and the ladder catches the wind by the blast of that tractor trailer that passes him on the left. The ladder comes out, and then you end up wearing that ladder through the front windshield of your vehicle because you're behind the guy with the ladder. Well, to prevent that maximum regret, I do all things possible to avoid that maximum regret, which include slow down, watch where that ladder is, get around that vehicle safely, and I want to minimize my maximum regret. And I'm sure that's something that a lot of us do in our lives. But I've got some good news, Dr. Shealy, and I've got in front of me, an article that says a stunning number of Americans no longer have cable TV. We're cutting the cord. 2.05 million subscribers down in 2016. So less of us are watching sitcoms, and so Dr. Shealy, there's this boy in Britain, and he's the youngest sex swap patient yet. And so he was a boy, and then he decided that he wanted to have female attributes, so he had them at age 15. So he was born a boy. Of course, he still is a boy, but he wants to look like a girl. So he was the first sex swap patient at age 15. 3 years later, he says, you know what? I was right the first time. I was really a boy. So he went from... I don't know if I said that right, but this guy, and he's male because you can tell from the chromosomes, right? And so he's a boy. He wants to be a girl, and so for like 3 years he's a girl in his mind, and maybe to those around him that may see him in a dress. And he goes, I really should have been a boy, and he wants to go back. Dr. Shealy, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. I mean, what are people going to say about this person? Wait a minute, weren't you a girl? I mean, after you were a boy, and now you're a boy. Okay, doesn't this destroy their lives? I mean, can't we learn from this? Like, if you want to do stupid things, watch what stupid people do and don't do it. Jeez.
Well, the evidence is overwhelming that a majority of people who go through with the physical change regret it. Number one. Number two, the instance of suicide is markedly increased in people who do it.
Mm-hmm.
Number three, it is a serious emotional, psychological problem which can never be solved with conventional psychotherapy or drugs or sex change. They must have competent past life therapy. I know of no other way to, solve the problem.
So what I'm hearing, Dr. Shealy, is that there's something in a past life that is carried forward, in your opinion, to this life that is causing this problem.
Well,
is that right?
I think it could be, bizarre trauma, if you will, in this life. But more often, I think it really is a carry-through of unfinished business from a previous life.
Okay. Robert in Kansas, you're on with Dr. Shealy. We only have a short time left.
Hi, Vincent. Hi, Dr. Shealy.
Howdy.
Hi. Have either of you heard of a man by the name of Rick Simpson?
I have not.
Go ahead, tell us about Rick Simpson.
Rick Simpson cures people who have severe cancer, metastasized cancer throughout the body. And what he does is he uses a whole plant cannabis oil from the indica strain, and he does a dosing protocol with that, and he has had many patients and much success, and he's just someone I was hoping you, Vincent, or Dr. Shealy, I don't know, he might be legally precluded from even talking about something like that, but that's what he uses, and it's had great success.
Well, I have looked for the last 45 years at spiritual healers who do this, with whatever the laying on of hands is. I'm not at all opposed to this. I know there is some evidence that cannabis oil can cure cancer, but I don't know of this man or his particular brand.
How does one get in touch with Rick Simpson?
Oh, well, Vincent, I know that you could look him up in terms of the information he puts out. He's kind of an activist, and he's trying to push this information. So I think I haven't tried to get a hold of him. I've looked into his research and what he's done.
It's on the Internet. I've just found it. Rick Simpson hemp oil. There's all kinds of information.
Correct, Doctor. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. I've just found it as well.
Okay, and that's something that might be of service if anyone's listening. Or I know I heard Lynn's story earlier, and I guess I'm calling for Lynn mostly.
I really appreciate your call, Robert.
Yes, I do too. I will look into it.
And I will as well.
All right, thank you,
Robert in Kansas. Thank you so much. That was Robert in Kansas. Thank you for calling, Dr. Shealy. Well, that's another 2 hours. Thank you so much for being with us. And
it was a lot more productive than watching Boop Doop.
Absolutely. NormShealy.com, class. NormShealy.com.